Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, even at the age of 9, he was starting his Saturday with cartoons, coffee, and a cigarette. Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
My dirty babies, my fellow dirty babies, we have done it. We have done it.
And he's doing his best to bring back the carrier pigeon, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and when it comes to that baby, his diaper ain't the only thing that's dirty.
Ooh, that is terrible, everybody, because this week we are wrapping up anime. Let me see if this is the right button.
It's gonna be...
There we go. Get used to that one more time as the month goes out here and everything. But yeah, this week we had all of our supporters over at patreon.com/HMP vote on what we would actually watch this week. And here are the results. Dragging up the absolute bottom was Full Metal Alchemist Show Tucker, which I don't blame that because it had a lot of strong competition this week. Coming in after that was Your Name. Just above that was Attack on Titan, but the two that struggled for that lead were Star Wars Visions and Tranzor Z, but Tranzor Z popped out by just one single solitary vote. So I don't know who it is.
That is amazing to me. Tranzor Z was able to rock the vote with that competition.
It was quite surprising.
About our audience, I believe.
Justin said, I'm voting Visions because I've already seen it and it wouldn't have to watch another anime that I'll end up hating. This month it's been rough.
Oh, but Justin, you're not going to hate. You if you saw this episode of Tranzor Z, you already know.
The nice thing is, you got an excuse if you didn't watch this episode because it's kind of like solving the riddle of the Sphinx to get it.
It is.
It's like it's on archive.org, but nothing's in order. And whenever you try to share it, it just shares episode 10, no matter which episode you share it.
Nate says, as a dirty baby, I'm voting on the shortest run Star Wars Vision. Tranzor Z is also sort of an acceptable choice for all dirty babies.
Well, look, I'm going to come clean here. If Star Wars Visions won it out, I was going to be happy with that too because it's a Star War.
Yeah,
but I'm really proud of my fellow dirty babies this week.
But
I'm just really heartbroken that neither Attack on Titan nor Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood did very well in the vote.
Listen.
Well, but look, Attack on Titan is hard to get into at first, but once you're in it, oh my word, I love that show.
Yeah, and we had a lot of killers for this vote, so
yeah.
and people were. It was all over the board for the most part, but with those two struggling as the top position, I thought that was kind of fun and everything. But if you would like to support this show and get your own voice heard on these votes and get the pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, all that kind of good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/HMP. Doesn't matter what level you end up supporting at, you get all those fun things. Just take whatever value that you get out of this show, put that into a dollar form, send it to us at Patreon, and at the same time, get yourself more content for you. And it should make you happy knowing that, you support one of the little guys as opposed to one of these big giant things that's going to make you listen to 45 minutes worth of ads that you don't want to listen to on every single podcast. We value you more than that.
We give you 45 minutes of original content you don't want to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, at least, but it's not an ad. Think about that one. Put that in your cap there, kids. So let's, again, patreon.com/HMP. A big giant thank you to all of you fine folks. And we'll run through all of your kudos and everything next month or next week as the month goes over here. So also, if you have anything that you want to plug, this is the best part. Patreon, you guys are part of a family with us. I know there's a couple shows like we've been watching, Marty's show. Go check out that. So anything that you guys want to plug, if you're a supporter of this show, go ahead and just send us a little message there because we love you guys and we want people to check out your stuff as well because that's what I like. I like sharing it all out there with everybody. All right. I do not have a trailer for this Tranzor Z, which is...
Oh, just run that song again, that earwig of a song.
Oh, yeah.
Of the opening song.
In stereo sound. This thing says 1080p, but I'm thinking that's probably not true.
Yes, I think that is fairly certain.
I think they uploaded it 1080p. I don't know how accurate that is. But anyways, speaking of accuracy.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
All right. What you got this week, Bruce?
Tranzor Z was the United States' attempt to translate the Japanese anime Mazinger Z, often anglicized as Mazinger Z. And Mazinger Z first came to life as a super robot manga series written by Go Nagai and appearing in Shonen Jump back in 1972. Shortly after its debut, the robot manga was adapted into an anime, premiering on Fuji TV in December 1972. Also, in case you're curious, Mazinger Z is made entirely of super alloy Z, which comes from refining a new element called Japanium, which is still a better name than unobtainium, by the way.
True.
Yes.
Now, for some reason, 13 years after it debuted, 3B Productions decided to develop an American version called Tranzor Z, which is made even stranger by the fact that there was Hawaiian-produced English dub called Mazinger Z that was made back in 1977. But 3B knew Dirty Babies needed their fix, so the company pressed on. The show was re-edited and the characters' names were changed because the filthy animal that would watch this show, well, they weren't sophisticated enough to handle the highbrow storytelling of giant robots smashing together. The Dirty Babies would be confused by a name like Koji Kabuto, so it became Tommy Davis. Shiro became Toad, Professor Yumi became Dr. Wells, and Dr. Hell became Dr. Damon, because if you introduce the word hell to Dirty Babies, well, all hell might break loose.
He'll start cursing.
Mm-hmm.
Only 65 out of the 92 episodes were dubbed into English, and that's because 65 was the bare minimum number of episodes required for syndication, and nobody at 3B had anything even close to artistic integrity. Now, the Great Mazinger incarnation of Mazinger Z was part of the Shogun Warriors toy line, known as Mazinga on the localized packaging in North America. And Great Mazinger also appeared in the Shogun Warriors comic that was licensed by Marvel, written by Doug Minch and drawn by Herb Trimpe. Mazinger wasn't one of the three main characters, but don't let that keep you down, my squalor-dwelling children. In March 2019, Mazinger Z had a crossover with the Transformers. It was a manga with the full title, Mazinger Z versus Fight Super Robot Life Form Transformer.
Yes.
That title probably tells you that it wasn't published by IDW. It's crazy because looking at the cover, it's clear that Mazinger Z is the star and not the Transformers. And hey, do you know what they call Transformers fans in Japan?
American?
赤ちゃん。汚い赤ちゃん。
That's the Japanese words that mean
Dirty babies.
so that, my friends, is what they think of Transformers fans in Japan. So speaking of Shitenai Akachan, Adam, do you have a list?
I do. If that comic connection wasn't enough for you, let me sell everybody on this Also Ran anime, because this sucker has everything. Just imagine that kid in your class in school who drew all those wacky anime Jaeger pictures was asked to use his designs in a TV show. And it's anime, so you know that there are a lot of loadouts galore. This time, like Get Smart, which is pretty sweet. We've got boob rockets, diamond nipples, a vacuum belly button that sucks up rocks, trees, and missiles so it can fight. We got Inspector Gadget, Patrice O'Neill, Donald Gibb, actual panhandling, kids that deliver words, deliver kind words with a stern face. Tranzor Z lives in a pool, I guess. We got wacky helmets complete with shades. We got arm melting, breath battling, laser eye blasting, rocket hand shooting, cave crashing, casual Jaeger walking, bargaining with God, half Corella DeVille, half MODOK villain. We got carrier pigeon talk, villain headache small talk. Speaking of talk, hawk smack talk, motorcycle theft, great quotes like, "We'll be right back after these messages."
Yep.
Tons of filler with that. Good stuff. We got sidecars and swords, Bruce's nickname in high school, White Dynamite. And remember, if you're not saying it out loud, are you really doing it in an anime? Also...
Yeah, I'm real...
Also, a couple of great lines like, "I'll give him a hand," and "Now, before you do anything else, destroy the thieves and show them the power of Dr. Damon." And my favorite, "Why don't you pick on someone else your own size? Like me." This TV show's got everything.
Did you see Santa Claus in the episode you watched, Adam?
Santa? No. Did I watch the
Oh,
wrong
you saw
You watched the
episode?
wrong
same
one.
episode that we did.
Yeah, you saw the wrong one, Adam.
Well, it's about time.
That list, I started thinking, I might have watched the wrong one.
Well, we had a lot of confusion as to.
I told you that you had a good excuse if you watched the wrong episode.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you about my episode. And I'm sure,
Please.
we'll guess that it's probably
The
not
guy-
too awful far from your episode.
The nice thing is some of the characters are recurring.
And not only
It's
that,
not too deep.
my breakdown is so specific, it'll feel like you've watched the episode.
This is great because, well, I'll tell you my rating right now, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, because I did not watch the right thing.
So was,
Second
was
time
Count
that's-
Decapito, was Count Decapito in your episode at all?
I don't know what that is.
That's
Oh.
a guy whose head is cut off and he carries it around in his hand.
I
And the
saw
head talks.
okay, so here's like seriously, there was a guy who looked like Inspector Gadget and another character who I promise you looked a lot like Patrice O'Neill, had the gap between his teeth and everything.
Oh,
it was,
wow.
It was
Wow.
That's why I said that, because it looks just it doesn't sound like him, but it kind of looks like him in an old-timey wear. They're
But
trying
you did have boob rockets in your episode.
There were boob rockets in the show.
Mm-hmm.
There was another Jaeger that had like diamond nipples, is what I'll call them.
Now, I don't know the diamond.
I don't know that one. Did you see Bobo Bot?
I don't know what that is. They tried to get it was a diamond heist off of the chest of this robot. This robot
man.
has diamonds that shoot lasers out that destroy
I'll
trees.
tell you what, hearing your description and knowing the episode we watched, I'm going to go ahead and say there may be no losers. Like if you watch any episode of Tranzor Z, they all sound equally off the wall.
This thing
They're
would like
all awesome.
he would shoot laser beams out of his eyes. He would melt like trees and rocks and stuff, and then he would suck them up via vacuum where his belly button would be.
Oh.
And
Nice.
that's what actually powered him to give him to his power for this giant Jaeger machine to actually work.
Very cool.
I watched.
I'm going to have to go back and check out more Tranzor Z.
Okay, so tell me about your episode, the episode that you watched,
You want me to start?
please.
Yes, Sean.
Okay. So we're going right from the beginning here, just to give you the heads up. So we start with the show opening, which has one of the worst earwigs you'll ever hear. You heard it at the top of the show. I have been whistling that for 2 days straight now. You cannot get it out of your head. And then the opening also works as a time machine because it immediately transported me back to 1985, like instantly once it started. And we get the great line that opens every show of Tranzor Z: from the minds of mortal men, the mightiest of machines, Tranzor Z. It's amazing. Then the show opens and we meet Tranzor Z's arch villains. And we cut to the middle of a daydream that Dr. Damon is having, I'm guessing. And he's complaining about how he can never destroy Tranzor Z because of Super Alloy Z, which makes Tranzor Z indestructible. And he says he doesn't even fear the attacks of our machine beasts. And then we meet up with Count with Count Decapito, who happens to be a guy who's decapitated, and his body holds his head in his hands. And he comes up with the brilliant plan to steal Super Alloy Z to make their machine beasts as indestructible as Tranzor Z. And both Dr. Damon and the third person in our unholy trinity, who is Deviline, who is a wizard, and half witch, half man, half lady person.
Yeah, she's like the split face, right?
Yeah,
Yes, she's the one with the split face.
Okay, good. So
Deviline.
that villain transfers over to the episode that I watched. So at least that's good.
Good.
And the same person who voices Tommy is voicing that character. So no expense spared with the Americanization of this show. But they start talking about how they're going to steal Super Alloy Z, and everyone agrees that this is a really, really good idea.
And it seems ridiculously easy once they start getting into it, but I don't want to cut too far ahead.
Yes. So then we cut to a beautiful winter paradise where we meet up with our heroes. Frog. Huh?
They're skiing, right?
Well, we're getting there. We're meeting up with our heroes, Frog and Bobo, and Jessica and Tommy are off somewhere. We don't know where they are, but people are building snowmen and skiing, and one of their friends is tearing up the slopes when Loudmouth buffoon and mechanic Bobo describes that he's a much better skier and says, "That was nuttin'," and then tries to show off down the slopes only to smash into the head of his giant robot Bobo Bot. And when
this is like he did it on purpose, though. Like he meant to do that.
But what happens is that when he goes inside, like he falls inside of the robot, and for some reason, when he lands inside the head of his robot, a grandfather clock falls off the wall that's inside of the robot's head for some reason. Like, why would you need a pendulum swinging clock on your wall? But he had one, and then we cut to the outside of Bobobot, and the robot itself appears to be disappointed by recent events. And
I love the expression, the ability to express emotion that Bobobot has. Who, by the way, I thought he was Bubba for a while, which is kind of a better name.
Well, I thought I remembered it as Bubba Bot, but it's actually Bobo.
But I think we can agree, Bubba Bot. If you want to call it that, we're not going to correct you.
No, that's a pretty great name.
It's a Bobo Bot, though. Doesn't it have to be a monkey? If we're going by Mr.
Well,
Science
it does
rules.
look a little bit like a monkey. Like, I mean, the arms are really long on it, like a monkey would have, just like its owner. Like
It really looks like what a robot, an animated robot, would look like if you put the least amount of effort into designing an animated robot.
Agreed.
That's what I thought about a lot of the stuff. When you see the actual Tranzor Z vehicle itself and everything, it is just like, boy, you got to say it's minimalistic is a nice way to put it.
I believe what you're searching for is charming.
Oh yes, it's minimalistic charm.
I cannot get over how much I love this show. Like, I loved it when I was a kid, but I only loved it as like Voltron isn't on yet.
Yeah.
But now I love this show way more than I loved it as a kid because it is so charming and it is so weird. And like, you can literally feel the splicing of the American producers of what was a very different Japanese show, I'm sure.
It totally. Now, I don't know what the Mazinger Z version was like, but so far this Tranzor Z version has absolutely missed any of the narrative themes, the statements on the human condition, what it means to be human, what it means to be in conflict. It totally misses any of those themes that were touched on in Mobile Suit Gundam, yet it is infinitely more watchable than Mobile Suit Gundam. Like, I don't know, it sounds like an unfair thing to say, but I could watch 7 hours of Tranzor Z and never get bored, I'm convinced. We found out 2 hours and 15 minutes without a break is a little too much Mobile Suit Gundam.
Yeah, and I mean, come on, 24 minutes. You can't beat 24 minutes, man.
And sometimes like the deeper themes and the deeper consequences and the depression and the sucking your soul out. Well, it's just not as much fun as Bubba Bot, who probably looks like he's going to fart if you pull his finger.
It's true, and there's something also where it's like because it's so childish.
Yeah,
there's something fun about that too.
It totally kind of feels like all those, I don't know if they were all made by Hanna-Barbera or Filmation or some other company was trying to get in on it, but all those like not quite Scooby-Doo shows, like Speed Buggy's even too mainstream, but something like Fang Face, they really took that Scooby-Doo formula,
right, and
really, really pushed it out as far as they could. You get Jabberjaws, you get Fang Face, you get Speed Buggy. This kind of has some of that charm, like okay, we're gonna make Scooby-Doo into Bubba Bot. I don't know, but it really kind of has like that Hanna-Barbera charm too, where nothing that happens in this episode will have any consequences on the next episode.
Well, we'll get to it.
Okay.
So while we're inside of the head of the robot's head, Bobo sees that there's an army off in the distance attacking itself for some reason. And he realizes that as Dr. Damons Army fighting amongst itself. Oh, boy.
Okay, I want to slow down here for a minute. Why? Is it just a coincidence that the ski slopes that they went on for vacation happened to be next to Dr. Damon's army? Or are they there on purpose? Like, why are they in such close proximity while they're also like skiing and having a good time?
Bruce, have you not been to a ski chalet and have a couple of guys with laser guns and whatnot out inside you hadn't had that?
I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt which I will always give this show at this point, and say that it was all part of the plan.
Whose plan?
Dr. Damon's plan.
Okay, yeah, okay. Dr. Damon knew they were going on vacation to Aspen or whatever, and he followed them.
Right.
Okay, now that I could buy.
Okay, so this army is attacking itself, and he finds out that it's Dr. Damon's army. But then all of a sudden, a bullet ricochets off and almost hits Bobo, which enrages him, and he starts attacking each side of the battle, which ends with Bobo presumably killing roughly about 100 people and taking 2 prisoners.
Now, we do want to point out these are robot troops, though you couldn't tell by the animation. In fact, I would dare say that in Japan, they were just plain old human troops.
Those all look like people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just the Tranzor Z 3B Productions translation that decided if he's going to kill all these folks, let's just say the robots, but they do not look in any way, shape, or form like robots.
Well, they got like
human
helmets on, and they look like they're wearing like it's
and you know what?
flesh underneath it.
If it's like 1968 Star Trek episodes or whenever Star Trek was on, and it's kind of expensive to get somebody into a robot costume, so you just have somebody that looks like a human, you call them an android, and your special effects are done. But this is a cartoon. You can draw a robot as easy, if not easier than you can draw. So they were humans, I'm sure, in Mazinger Z. And they're like, well, they're all getting killed left and right. Let's just say they're all robots.
Throw a quick line in there about robots so the parents' associations don't, crap on us. Let's go.
But there's nothing on the screen visually to confirm that they're robots.
No, nothing at all.
I almost feel like it's a lie Tommy told Bobo so that he wouldn't hesitate to kill these guys.
Which he does. Like there's no doubt about it, because you see like blood trails, except for it's black instead of red.
Yes. Those are oil trails.
Oh, yes, of course. Oil trails, of course.
Red oil trails.
And we think that the skirmish is all over, that Bobo Bot did his diligence. But what's this? Count Decapito launches a creature called the Pseudo Santa Beast,
which is awesome.
Watch out, Bobo Bot. We then cut to a commercial for the first of what feels like 1,000 times. And we know this because we get a glory shot of Tranzor Z making a muscle pose for some reason.
Because those robots got to show off them muscles, man. You got to let the ladies know what's going on. Show them you're open for business.
It's true. And then the narrator comes in and says, Tranzor Z will return after these messages. And then immediately following that, we get and now back to Tranzor Z. And we see this super futuristic 80s font. It's
good.
With Tranzor Z spelled out, which is awesome. And even though this only happens 3 times during this 24-minute episode, it feels like 700 because it's super repetitive. We then come back to the action where Bobo says, look, I'm the first to take prisoners. And his friends start applauding him for some reason. When all of a sudden, the Pseudo Santa Beast shows up and starts attacking Bobo Bot. He's getting shot at with this whip missile thing that the Pseudo Santa Beast has. And when Jessica sees this, she immediately tells Tommy what's going down, which makes Tommy spring into action.
I feel like we need more evil robot Santas out there that fly like, those
now in the Japanese, in the Japanese version, Mazinger, that robot was called Santa Claus P10. But why Santa Claus? Is it just because they're at a ski resort? Like nothing tells me that nothing in this episode says it's the Christmas season. They just happen to be skiing, but you can go skiing in February, right?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, too, though, like, what does Santa do in his off-season? Perhaps he turns into a robot and goes and messes with Tranzor people. I don't know.
With a rocket-launching whip, which seems like not the best design for a rocket launcher.
Yeah, you can just hold a gun and just shoot it at people, and then it just goes.
Like, if you've got a whip and it's just, like, dangling, and then the rocket launcher's at the end of the whip, the recoil's just going to, like the rockets are going to stay still and the whip's going to shoot backwards, right?
If you don't do it quick enough, it'll just go off. And
I don't know if you can snap a rocket no matter how hard you fling a whip. That's why people hold those things on their shoulders and brace themselves. You don't see anybody shooting a rocket launcher on ice skates, do you?
I kind of want to now, but yeah.
Definitely do now.
That'll be the first scene in my next movie that I make.
We then get the sequence that everyone who's ever watched this show remembers. Tommy runs to his hovercraft, flies over a pool, which then drains out when he yells Tranzor Z. Go ahead.
This is your Mighty Morphin Power Rangers moment, your thing that we're going to be doing every single episode because, but not only are we'll be right back after these messages, but like between that and then you go down this corridor and then you're in this little plastic bubble and then you go to this thing and then it goes inside the head and all this kind of crap, just saving money left and right.
It confused me though, because if it's like snowy everywhere and everybody's skiing, why isn't the water frozen in Tranzor's pool?
I think that's a different location.
Oh, it's very, very far away from each other, these two things.
That's why it's to jump in the hovercraft?
Yes. I mean, that hovercraft is fast, boy. So fast.
Let's just say me and you and Adam were going on a ski vacation together, and we all three just happened to have giant robot mechas. Mm-hmm. Is there any way we're going on that trip and not taking our giant robot mechas with us? Like, I wouldn't have to fly back home and get my giant robot mecha, because if I got a giant robot mecha, I'm taking it. I'm taking it to Park City for Sundance.
Yeah, a little just in case.
I gotta say, I don't like your implication, mister.
Are you saying you would not take your giant robot mecha to Sundance?
Of course I would, but what I'm saying is that you're calling the Tranzor Z people the good people over at 3B lazy.
Oh, I said it.
I will not have you besmirch the 3B people here in my presence.
Like Bobo didn't have to fly back home and get his Bobo bot. He was out there on the slopes.
He's already out there on the slopes. Also, though, I mean, it's basically just a trash can with arms, so like, there's no loss.
I would say that in a knowing my athletic abilities, I would probably want to ski inside the Mecca, because I don't want to, I don't want to end up like some of those famous people who've died on the ski slopes.
As someone who has skied, who skied for years when he was younger, probably a good idea.
So the first time, like I was like in high school, like I'd skied and stuff before, but I was just like, we're going skiing on this trip. And at first I was just like, okay, I'll do the skis. And then the second day I was like, man, I really want to snowboard. This is kind of like just when snowboarding was starting to kind of pop off and everything, and you could easily rent a snowboard. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to trade in my skis here for a snowboard tomorrow, and I'm going to spend the rest of the time snowboarding. And I'd skateboard a whole bunch, so I was ready to do it. And as we were kind of leaving the ski place that day, I made a joke about a guy stepping in poop. It's kind of a visual joke, so it doesn't really work. But as I was doing it, my knee popped out of spot and then back into place, and then I couldn't. No. And I spent the entire time the rest of the trip in this sweaty, disgusting ski lodge that just smelled like BO and wet, and it was just the worst experience ever. But like, don't make poop jokes when you go out skiing, kids, because your knees can get disconnected and put back into place.
Is it because you didn't realize your foot was fastened to the board and you tried to lift it?
No, the joke was about like a guy that was walking down the road. He's dragging his foot, and then another guy follows up behind him and gets beside him, and he's also dragging his foot. And the one guy looks at the other one guy, goes, Vietnam, 1969. The other one guy looks at me and goes, piece of dog crap, 3 miles back. And
how did that make you hurt your knee?
Because I was doing the act out. And as
you were attached to a snowboard?
No. This was just like walking in the parking lot. We were just.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like attached to the snowboard, trying to do the act out, but you didn't realize your foot was tethered.
No,
in place.
the day was over. We're just walking back to the car. I make the joke, and then my knee pops out.
Oh boy! So you didn't even get to go down the hill once.
I did, like the first day. I bunny sloped it a little bit with the regular ones. I think I went down like maybe 1 or 2 regular slopes with skis, but not a single bit of snowboarding in there. It's still to this day I've not snowboarded, and I'm kind of a little miffed about it.
It's a bummer.
It'll happen at some point, I'm sure. I still got them skills.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I thought I'd share a fun snowboard
just
story.
Go to the slopes and rent an inner tube.
I would do that too, to be honest.
So the Tranzor Z robot lifts out of the pool. Then Tommy yells out, "Hovercraft link," which makes his hovercraft link into the top of the robot's head, making Tranzor Z come to life.
And I got to say, kind of low budget, cheesy, call it what you want, but I think that's a cool little sequence when he goes into the head. I find that unironically nice.
Yeah, me too, man. But I mean, I grew up with it, so of course I love it.
No, it's not bad, but like one of the things that that kind of hinders it is just the lack of detail on the Tranzor Z robot itself. It's just it doesn't look like it, for lack of a better words, it doesn't look like it has bones. It looks like it just kind of floats about a little bit. Like there are no real actual joints or anything in it. It's all like, noodle arms and legs.
A little rubber hose animation to it.
Yeah, if when they got to the feet, they were like, "Oh, we're going to Rob Liefeld this bad boy."
I mean, you can tell that the character design was pre-Gundam because that totally changed how mechas were drawn.
Oh yeah, man. Jeez, I mean, watching that 2017 Mazinger Z. I mean, it's so clear the Gundam influence in the design of the new Tranzor Z robot. It's ridiculous. And this is the other part to it, is that even though I have not seen this TV show in over 30 years, I knew every single sequence of this sequence. I knew every single part of the sequence.
Man. That is the kind of thing that there's a certain age in childhood when something can imprint on you and it's never gone.
Yeah. And this is definitely one of those moments, and it felt so good watching. We then cut back to the Pseudo Santa Beast attacking Bobo Bot, and we get my favorite line of the episode when Bobo says the line, "I get the distinct feeling that Santa Claus is trying to moita me. I wasn't that bad this year."
Yes, that is a great line. He said, "I know it wasn't good, but I wasn't that bad," or something like that.
No, it's literally word for word. I wasn't that bad this year.
Something tells me Bobo's gotten a lot of coal in his stocking over the years. But the thing is, no one has commented on whether or not it's anywhere near Christmas. That's what's driving me nuts here.
Well, you don't see anyone eating KFC, so it's probably not Christmas.
And I've got this strange thing that goes all the way back to when I was a young child. Like say I'm 5 years old when I would have been the age to watch this. No, I would have been more like 10, right? Anyway, this was like 1985. I'm thinking of the original. But let's say I'm 7 years old, 8 years old, and I see a Christmas special rerun during the summer. It just made me feel like so disgusting all through my body. I had this weird reaction to it. Like I can't handle Christmas stuff out of season as a child. Now that I'm older, it doesn't like have the same effect on me, but I don't know, man. It was like one of those things. Like, did you ever have to stay all night with your grandma and like you would lay down in the bed in your grandma's guest room and you just feel weird, like you didn't belong there?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's how I would feel if I watched like a Christmas special in June. So watching this brought back those weird kind of feelings, because I can understand that if I'm going to be watching it and it's not Christmas, that's fine. But if Santa Claus shows up on an episode, it ought to be a Christmas episode, even if Santa's a robot trying to kill you.
Watch Tranzor Z. It's just like staying at your grandma's house.
I never stayed at my grandma's house because my grandma was a racist alcoholic, and my parents were like, "You are going to spend as little time as possible there."
It's like staying at your grandma's house. You forgot to pack PJs, so she gives you one of her nightgowns.
I think that's something different you're talking about. You know, there's no actual game called Hide the Teacup, just so you know.
You're walking around a 7-year-old boy in your grandma's house coat as you do.
Go put on grandma's house coat and get the paper.
So
Bobo slippers that still smell like her feet.
Let me save us all. So Bobo tries to run away, but the robot falls over because Bobo Bot is a massive disappointment, and he almost gets taken out by some missiles.
I like that reason, just because he sucks.
And he almost gets taken out by some missiles, but right at the last second, Tranzor Z shows up, stops the missiles, and stares down Pseudo Santa Beast, and Santa flies away. When Tommy asks Bobo if he's okay, Bobo responds with, "Why'd you interrupt me, Tommy? I really had him scared." And Bobo then shows off his two prisoners, which he's holding in his giant robot hands, the same way that King Kong holds pretty blonde ladies.
Yeah.
And we cut to the inside of the good guy's base where they're interrogating the prisoners. And one of the bad guy robot soldiers starts spilling the beans. And Dr. Damon, here it is. Here's what's happening. Dr. Damon wants to steal Super Alloy Z from the good guys. And Dr. Damon's forces are about to mount an attack, the likes of which they've never seen. So Tommy decides the best course of action is to use Tranzor Z as defense, because when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Exactly.
So we see Tranzor Z getting ready for the fight, but this time he's also wearing his super cool flying wing belt. And we learn from the bad guys watching all this action that their plan is going swimmingly. They expected the soldiers to get captured. They knew Tranzor Z was going to be used as defense, but there's another part of their plan. Not only are they using the Santa Claus robot, but they're also launching something called the Clam Digger robot.
I love it. I love it because I just can't help but look at that and think, we'll adjust for inflation. The numbers would have been different then, but that's like a $7 billion robot that at least $6 billion of the expense is just so it can put a shell around itself and do what a shovel could do. Like, where the heck does that whole shell come from and go to? Because it, like, out of nowhere pulls a complete shell to put over its robot body and turn it into something that looks like a screwy torpedo.
It's going to attack the good guy's base, and then Count Decapito and Develine start arguing about whose plan it actually is and who's smarter. And we hear hilarious jokes like, "Don't lose your head over this plan." And it is so funny. I had to rewind several times just so I could understand the subtle nuance of the jokes.
Do you know, being the resident Tranzor Z superfan, do we ever get an origin story for Dr. Decapito?
I don't know, because honestly, I have not watched this show in 30 years. Like, literally, this is the first time I've seen it since it was aired on my parents' television when I was a small child. I couldn't tell you. I know that
feel like that might be something that was in one of those 30 episodes they didn't bother to translate.
I think you might be right, because when you do a little bit of digging, what you learn is that basically Tranzor Z is Mazinger Z, and then a year later in Japan the kids get Mazinger Z Ultra or Super or something like that. And there was never a Tranzor Z Ultra. And so, we were just left wanting.
Yes.
All us dirty babies just sitting, waiting for the new Tranzor Z to come out. That'll never happen.
I'm not watching Superman. I'm only watching Ultra. None of that. No, I'm an Ultra only man.
Oh, man. I found the origin for Count Broken Shin, who is called Count Decapito.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a long story. It's a long story, but he was the commander of Dr. Damon, Dr. Hell, his air division, and his head got separated from his torso, but Dr. Hell preserved him because he was a loyal servant.
Oh, that's great. We're all the better for it.
Yeah.
You think
he's a great villain.
You think?
Oh, man, at one point he had like a robot body with just the head on it. Oh, man, they could have used a little of that in Tranzor Z.
They steal. Did Reanimator steal all this? Can we just go ahead and say Stuart Gordon is a thief?
That's it. That's where this is where H.P. Lovecraft, time traveling H.P. Lovecraft, got the idea for the Reanimator.
The only sweaty little men working on Tranzor Z were the actual animators. So we cut back to the good guy's base where the prisoners start launching into the second phase of their plan. And one of the prisoners has a laser gun in his shoe that he then uses to murder the other prisoner, which the other guy seems totally fine with. So he gets disintegrated, and the one prisoner left says to our heroes, "Hey, that guy escaped and he snuck a bomb into the mining site." Since Tommy is the only person on this entire show who makes good decisions, the rest of the idiots in the base decide the best course of action is to free the remaining prisoner so he can show them where the hidden bomb is located.
Can't go wrong with that idea, can you?
No, not at all. Brilliant planning. And they even show this bad guy where the hidden elevator door is, and he's quietly laughing and smiling to himself as all this is going on. But no one expects anything from him because, as I previously has stated here, they're all idiots.
And something that we didn't lay down in the groundwork when the show first began is like there is a dad or something.
Yes, but he's off on assignment. He's
gone somewhere. So this is all happening without adult supervision. Because the whole time I'm watching this, I don't quite understand that in the beginning. And I'm like, why is the battle for the freedom of the universe always being handled by some kids with no adult supervision? Like, we do find out there is a dad who's just off at an insurance convention or something.
We don't talk about it too much, but there's a lot of this stuff in like anime and other things where it's just like there are no adults around.
It's true.
There's a lot of latchkey kids.
You'll see like people in junior high age that have their own apartment and stuff. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and then there's a little girl who's also like 100 years old, or there's someone else who also looks like they're 1,000 years old who's 8.
Yes,
that's how all these things tend to work.
Have we gotten to the boob rocket yet?
No. We're getting
so much to say when we get there.
We're getting there. And you can speak to that to your heart's content. I knew that you would. That's why I only mentioned what happens, because I'm sure that you have a lot to say about this. So the prisoner is then shown where the good guys keep Super Alloy Z. And wouldn't you know it? Who'd have guessed? He betrays them and takes somebody's gun and takes all of them prisoner. He then thanks them for everything for some reason. He actually does. He thanks them.
And that's the part where I said it sounds awfully easy to get the Japanium.
And he traps them in their own mind, at which point we get my second favorite line of the episode when Bobo says, "Open this door, you fiend." So
I wonder how often that line ever works.
Probably zero.
Like if somebody locks you in a closet, is the secret to getting out to simply ask them to please unlock you? Like I figure if they lock you, they know you're in there.
Boy,
they didn't do it by mistake.
He asked really nicely.
You know, I was going to, and then he called me a fiend.
I felt like, all right, fire. Let's
enjoy your death trap, ladies. So then they get word back to Tommy that they've been betrayed. And so Tommy has been defending the base this whole time in Tranzor Z. And Tommy bangs a Louie and heads back to the base with Tranzor Z, but he starts being attacked by the Santa robot. Who would have guessed that would happen?
It was weird too, because this episode is not that long. But I had kind of forgotten about the Santa robot at this point. And then he shows back up and I said, oh, this guy again? I thought we had dealt with the Santa robot.
Well, it's so dense. You know, I mean, it's just such a dense plot and script to this thing. And
this was actually 4 hours long in Japan.
Oh, my God.
This is Japan's Deep Space Nine, but with anime.
We go back to the bad guy that was once their prisoner. And that now everyone is calling a spy for some reason. Everyone starts calling him a spy. And he's set off a locating device that'll tell the Clam digger robot where it needs to dig in order to steal the Super Alloy Z. Devaline then tells the spy that his tour of duty is finished, and the spy seems totally fine with being murdered, and she pushes a button which disintegrates him. And then she says, my third favorite line of the episode, where she says, you will be honored in the Robot Soldiers Hall of Fame for the great job.
Because robots care about that kind of stuff, right?
Located in Cleveland, Ohio.
I'm just glad that there's a Robot Soldiers Hall of Fame.
I also like it that the anime wants to ease it into American audiences by saying it's okay to kill them, they're just robots, but then it builds their emotions and intellect to the level that they have their own Hall of Fame, so you kind of have to empathize with them now.
They're throwing retirement parties.
So then Devaline deploys the Clam digger robot, and that robot, wouldn't you know it, starts digging like crazy.
What?
Yep.
You'd think.
And we rejoin the action outside as Tranzor Z and the Santa robot do battle, and he just keeps missing Santa with the laser, and Tommy says, so long, I have more important things to do. Literally, that's what happens, and just leaves the Santa robot there to cause as much destruction as it wants.
No lie. That's how I ended every single fist fight I was in.
But
all right, I got better things to do. See ya.
But as he's flying away, wouldn't you know it, the Santa robot starts chasing him. It shoots him with a couple of missiles that make Tranzor Z then turn back around and start chasing after the Santa robot again.
Yep, that's how it goes down.
We learn that this too is part of the bad guy's plan because Count Decapito starts talking about the plan out loud to no one as all of this is happening. And if
in all fairness, I've been known to do that.
I do too. I do too. I get it.
Like, man, I wish somebody was around to let me point out how my plan is succeeding. No one's ever around when I succeed, but boy, I screw up and there's an audience.
I'm on a really good rant right now, and there's no one here to hear it, witness it.
Especially the days before I could just start texting people like my own W's, when you couldn't text folks. Then it was
yeah.
I had to write it down in a postcard and mail it to you. By the time you got it, the moment it passed.
You're stopping people at the gas station telling them crap.
If the Santa robot can keep Tranzor Z occupied, the Clam Digger robot can steal the Super Alloy Z. And that is exactly what happens. Jessica then says she's going to get her robot, Aphrodite A, to chase after the alloy. And Bobo says he'll jump into his robot too, which is meaningless since the Bobo bot is the lamest of all the robots.
That's the Tranzor Z equivalent of Ringo saying, okay, I'll jump on the drums.
We go back to the fight outside where Tranzor Z is fighting the Santa robot, and Tommy says, I'd like to send this guy to the South Pole.
Oh, wow.
Then Count Decapito tells the Santa robot to stop playing with Tranzor Z. The mission is done. Take Tranzor Z out once and for all, even though that dude totally already knows that the Santa robot doesn't have Super Alloy Z and is going to eventually be taken out by Tranzor Z. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
So Aphrodite A and Bobo Bot start trying to find the Clam Digger robot, only they can't find him anywhere, even though there is a massive crater-sized hole they're standing next to him.
It could be anywhere.
Maybe that hole is the way that he got in and out of their base. Who can guess?
It's like The Simpsons, where they said a hurricane has never hit Springfield in recorded history, but recorded history only goes back 7 years when a strong storm blew away the records.
That's a great line. That is a great line. And while they're deciding whether or not this massive hole is where the robot might be,
could just be a really big vole.
The robot pops out of the hole and starts fighting them.
Thank goodness it didn't depend on their intellect to lead to action.
Then the Clam Digger robot destroys one of Bobo Bot's arms. What a loser. And Aphrodite A shoots one of her 2 boob rockets at him.
Now we got to talk for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You had primed me for a robot called Aphrodite A. You had primed me for boob rockets, and I thought this was hilarious. But nobody told me that the pilot of Aphrodite A is what, maximum 13 years old?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, so that is, you get this anime weirdness. They don't seem to have age-related boundaries sometimes. They're the way Western cartoons would.
It's true.
And that's what it's weird. And I do love, as someone had said, that they censored out the firing of the boob rockets.
Yes.
So I can imagine the confusion as a child where you see these 2 cones on her chest that look like one of Madonna's pointy bras. Then you flash away to the bad guy Mechana Beast getting shot at with missiles. Then you go back and she mysteriously has holes in her boobs with no explanation, because they didn't at least edit out the fact that there are cavities left where the boob rockets used to be.
See, that's...
Well, I'll tell you that it totally works, because I remembered it as seeing that the rockets come out of her chest and shoot the bad guys. It didn't even occur to me that they don't show you that part.
It's like cutting off the ear in Reservoir Dogs.
Well, gentlemen, let me assuage your fears, because in the episode that I watched, I saw a boob rocket get launched from a boob.
Nice.
Boy,
so
that's something you'd brag to, in 7th grade. Guys, that's what I saw this weekend.
Saw a boob rocket.
Saw a boob rocket get launched.
What?
Lucky.
Oh, can you draw it?
Boob rocket? Was it squishy?
Squishy boob rockets. No, they're metal boob rockets. What do you want? There's some.
That was the name of my band in high school, Metal Boob Rockets.
So Aphrodite A, she's one of her 2 boob rockets at the robot, at the Clam Digger robot. And it should easily take out the Clam Digger, but he uses the Super Alloy Z as a shield and stops the Boob Missile.
Oh, no.
Man, he's so clever, this Clam Digger robot.
The bad thing about Boob Missiles is you got to go through life with only 2.
Yeah, can't.
I mean, imagine if you were like a female pig, because they have like 8 nipples. Now that, you'd really be launching.
Or at least like that Total Recall lady.
At least get a third boob.
Get you a third one in there.
It should be like you launch your boob rockets, and then there's a mechanism that just puts 2 more in place, and you show them slowly rise up and press forward.
Oh my gosh. Okay, dig this. Hold on. I just put it together because this is perfect anime. The second time that they do it, the rocket boobs are bigger.
That sounds like you're going to lose some powers.
They're bigger, and they have more of a payload when they hit their target for the next one. You're welcome, Tranzor Z. Go back in time and write me some checks.
That's a big enemy. Let's switch out the Partons. Give us the Dolly Partons.
Wow.
Now you know it's like real trouble. That's when Voltron gets together, when the bigger boob rockets come into play.
You know what I just heard about Dolly Parton is that she will not wear any makeup, and she won't, like look the way that she usually does. Like that's not her real hair.
Yeah.
Right. And she will just go shopping with her husband, and no one has had any idea that it's her for like 40 years.
That's pretty cool. Man.
There's some
Isn't
stuff
that
about
amazing?
But at the same time, too, I mean, like it's, and I don't discount that story as being true. But at the same time, too, like I literally just saw a thing on TikTok of like her walking into this restaurant and everything, and it is just like it's amazing to see everybody go like, what? It's like they saw an animated character in real life. They're just like, it's Dolly Parton. Like they don't even believe that that's what they're seeing there.
It's crazy. Like if you're not expecting to see somebody though, you won't, because sometimes all I have to do is put on a baseball cap and I hardly ever get recognized.
They don't go shouting in the street, Bruce Leslie, oh my God.
I mean, I can go anywhere I want, don't get recognized as long as I wear a baseball cap.
I can't go into any liquor store. Not because I'm famous, just
they just have your picture up on the wall.
They're just like,
the law has said
we
so.
can't serve this man anymore. Which makes sense.
So just then, the Santa robot flies by this action happening with the Clam Digger robot and Aphrodite A, and Clam Digger throws the Super Alloy Z to the Santa robot, who catches it, and Aphrodite A shoots off her last boob rocket, destroying the Clam Digger robot. But Santa takes off with the Super Alloy Z. Tommy then takes off after the Santa robot to get the Super Alloy Z, and it looks like the Santa robot's about to escape to the bad guy's submarine, but Tranzor Z hits the robot with his chest fire, destroying the Santa robot. But wait a second. The Santa robot just threw that Super Alloy Z at the last second, and the bad guys caught it in their submarine. So Tranzor Z tries to chase after that submarine, but it's too late. It's too late. They're too far under the water to catch them. And Tommy yells out that now with Super Alloy Z, no one will be able to stop Dr. Damon, not even Tranzor Z. And the episode ends on an amazing, and I mean amazing, cliffhanger. The credits roll as we're treated to the cross sections of Tranzor Z robot, and the Tranzor Z theme song plays, ensuring it gets stuck in everyone's head for the next few days.
Now, has anyone seen episode 54 of Tranzor Z?
I'm sure I have. I just don't remember what it is.
Because I would say there's a darn good chance that this Alloy Z is not spoken of.
No, they do have like extra parts. Like I do remember that. Like it'll go from like there would be like a 3-part episode sometimes. Sometimes there'd be a week-long thing. Like
now,
they do.
I know that like Mazinger Z would deal with it properly, but I'm just saying like Tranzor Z, it wouldn't surprise me if it's never spoken of again.
No, true, very true. But they do that.
Hey, listen, anytime you can Armin Tamzarian a show, I'm all about it.
Absolutely.
Now, Where did Santa Robot go at the end of this episode?
He gets melted.
Okay, I couldn't quite remember what his disposition is, because it would annoy me if he would keep showing up.
Melty.
Oh, no.
He got melted.
He did.
I lost track of what he was doing after the aerial robot managed to throw the rare earth element to an underwater submarine. Like
Right.
that seemed like an unlikely transition, but it is what it is.
You know what's funny is essentially during the recording of this podcast, while I didn't listen to any of the audio, I did watch all the visuals as we were kind of talking to them, scrolling through.
Nice.
So
Nice.
this is possible for anybody to actually have done. So you can go back to this episode because it's not too far off. You'll pause in a couple places and scroll back and forth, and you'll get there. But you'll follow what's going on. While I haven't seen it, I feel like I can give this a Robin rating. But
nice. The visuals plus Sean's description, that's probably better than watching it as 3B Productions intended.
You do need to get a couple of things into play just from a visual standpoint to know what these people are looking like. Like the big giant robot looks like a Homestar Runner character.
Yes.
Yeah.
That big guy and all that, and the headless guy looks a little bit like a wackier version of a Clockwork Orange type character.
And he's in a Nazi uniform. I forgot to mention that.
At the time, because it was the era of this, he reminded me of the G.I. Joe character Major Blood,
I could see that.
just with his head in his hands.
I could definitely see that.
Let's. I want to read a couple of things from our Patreon supporters and see what they thought about this episode. Noah says, "Oh man, I feel a little more dead than alive after this one." Now, granted, back in the day, it might have been a little bit better received, but that was rough. It's like the candy you find on clearance at the dollar store.
Oh man,
It plays it plays at the beginning just like other good stuff, but it's just not real right. Stephanie Brown from me.
I think I did describe this as like Dollar Tree anime before we watched it.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
Nate, who is also he's kind of redone his Patreon name in a way which I like. He calls it's instead of King Solomon's Baby, Dirty Solomon's Baby.
Oh, that's good.
So there you go. Nate says, I thought I'd remember more of this, but my recollections began and ended with the clarion call of Tranzor Z. In fact, I remember that even before I watched the episode. There was a lot of make-believe in the playground in 1985, shouting out that transformative phrase when I was 9 years old, but I doubt I acted out the whole sequence from glass dome elevator car to vacuum tube to hoverjet to another larger vacuum tube to the drowning pool to Tranzor Z's head. Looking back, that seems a bit much, no? This is a Damian Wayne for nostalgic value only. Aside from that, it is my wish that this is the one in... Oh my God, okay. Aside from that, my wish is that this is the one and only anime. This has been my least favorite stretch of the show since July and August 2020, when you covered all of those live-action manga and anime adaptations: Priest, Old Guard, Warrior Nun, Ichi the Killer, and the Transformers anime. This stuff just isn't for me. I can enjoy anime as a change of pace on HMP, but not week after week. The dirty babies are dead. Long live the dirty babies. And
man, I can't believe they were playing Tranzor Z in the playground. Their recess must have been like 7 hours long to get down to that level. Okay, we've played everything else. It's time to let Nate play Tranzor Z.
There's just a little kid, like there's just one child, like standing at the highest point on a rock on the playground, just going. Dun, 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 dun,
I mean, you had Robotech in 1985. You didn't need this.
And Matthew Vandiver says, aside from a silent voice, this really has been a retro anime. As well, it saves plenty of things for future anime. So Nate's like, no more animes. Matthew's like, throw an anime in there. Maybe once a year is probably a good one. Tranzor Z is so bad that it's funny, and I totally want to do impressions of some of the voices involved. Some of them seem distinctly familiar. The person saying Tranzor Z will be right back after these messages sure sounds like Peter Graves, but I doubt that it is. I think I need more.
What a great career turn for Peter Graves.
We have fallen from grace.
I think I need more giant robots with dad bods, and of course, Boob Missiles are the breast. I see what you did there, Matthew. How dare you? All right. Before we get to our final grade of everything here, we have to ask ourselves one very important question: is how this wild and crazy anime relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
I only have myself to blame.
Yeah, true.
Hi, Sly. Today, let's talk. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
God, I thought something was weird.
Hi, Sly. Today, let's talk about the voice actress Mona Marshall. If you've ever seen a cartoon, you have heard her voice. She works all the time and has been a voice actor for longer than most of our listeners have been alive. She's probably most famous as the voice of Sheila Broflovsky, or as the character is better known, Kyle's mom on the TV show South Park. She's worked with Pixar, Disney, Lucasfilm, and Genndy Tartakovsky. She voices the character of Toad on Tranzor Z. And in 1997, she did additional voices on your animated movie called Ants. Mona Marshall is 75 years old, and this year she's working on 2 different projects. She's added over 400 voiceover roles. She's been working nonstop since 1979. Wow. She was the voice of Penny on Inspector Gadget. She was a regular on the Rambo cartoon. And if that's not enough for you, she even wrote an episode of Who's the Boss? Wow. Just an amazing career. Huh. But you know what else is amazing? IMDb user reviews. And since we're on the topic of the movie Ants, I thought I'd share a review that comes from someone named Jonah17. And unlike most of the reviews on IMDb, this is a positive one. And it's entitled, Yes, for Kids. Jonah writes, you know, there was a time in which we didn't candy coat stories for children. The evil queen in Snow White, for one, was forced to wear red-hot slippers and dance to her death. Even in older Disney films like Bambi, the serious topic of death is broached. Now, no one dies. It's too serious. Horse hockey. One of the best moments I had watching Ants in a theater was listening to a mother explain why Barbados died. Guess what? Death is a natural part of life, and to refute it exists is just plain wrong. Or as in the recent Disney flick Hercules, Hades, the god of death, is portrayed as evil. What, are people supposed to be immortal? While this isn't appropriate for 4-year-olds, I wouldn't think twice about showing it to an 8-year-old. Why most movies are dumbed down. PG means parental guidance. Any movie that forces you to talk to your kids after a movie is a good one. Don't treat your kids like little morons. 10 out of 10 stars.
Was that
so
former
Stallone,
NBA Jack Valenti right there?
So, Mr. Stallone, I think what this childless goth boy is trying to say is that he liked your movie, and it wouldn't have been half as successful without the massive talent of Mona Marshall, today's Stallone connection. I hope to hear from you soon. Your pal, Sweet Shanzi from the internet.
Just let Sylvester Stallone know that this show exists, everybody. That's our goal for the next 2 years. Before the 10 years of this show, we want Sylvester Stallone to know about this. So tweet him, like close your eyes at night and think about him, and kind of have one of those mind to mind things over distance. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Kind of, and
push
just
your fingers into your temples.
You just kind of go hear me, Stallone, hear me, hear a movie podcast. You kind of do a little bit of that. If we all kind of do that, on Thursday at 7 p.m., who knows what'll happen? I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know much about much. It's just pure science as far as I'm aware. All right, here movie podcast. We have our own patented Robin rating system. Bruce, where does Tranzor Z fall in the Robin rating system for you?
It's short. It's funny. You don't have to watch the first 52 episodes to have a pretty good grasp on what's going on with episode 53. So that's a big selling point. Strangely, this holds up really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yet at the time it was out, you couldn't have paid me to sit and watch it. So it's so strange, but it's snuck up on me. I think I'm going to have to go Tim Drake. I really do. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I really think I'm going to go. I think anybody could enjoy watching this for 24 minutes.
for 24 minutes. That's one of the big things. Not like the rest of these anime where just like, we're going to take 2.5 hours worth of this and you're going to watch every flipping minute
you
of it.
need to take a lunch with you. Yeah.
Make sure you've scheduled a nap in between. Sean?
I have been finding myself saying this a lot more recently on the show, which is this is the reason why we have a podcast. This is a Dick Grayson for me all day. It was going to be a Tim Drake until the line, I believe Santa Claus is trying to moita me, was said. So that vaulted it to a Dick Grayson. My word, this was so much fun.
I'm at a difficult spot because, I mean, technically I should be giving this as Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Robin, which has only been given away 2 times previously in this podcast's long history, because that's when the Robin you didn't see. But during this episode, as I said, I kind of scrolled through. Feels like I saw a lot of this. You explained the plot to me. I saw a lot of the visuals that go along with it. So I feel like at least I can give it now a tentative grade of a Damian Wayne, just right there in the middle, having not seen and listened to all the dialogue properly. And again, the nice part about this is like you said, we're looking at 23 minutes worth of stuff here. You don't feel like you're, even though I watched the wrong episode twice, it still didn't feel like, 2.5 hours worth of the other enemies that we've been watching over the last couple of weeks and stuff. So I'll probably go back. It's only 23 minutes. I'll talk about that next week. If you guys want to watch episode 10, we'll talk about that one in the Dinger Zone. Because again, you'll get to see some Boob Rockets launch and a guy who looks like Inspector Gadget, and another guy who looks like Patrice O'Neal. I don't know.
Hey, you had me at Boob Rockets.
I'm gonna say. So yeah, that's a temporary Damian Wayne for me right now. Who knows, by the end of the year when we can re-rank any of our or re-rate any of our shows that we've kind of watched over the years, maybe I'll jump it up a letter grade there if I enjoy it a little bit more. That is it for this episode of Hero Movie Podcast, everybody. We're going to talk about what we're doing next week in just a moment. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I'm getting back at it at YouTube. I had a nice, short, concise video about the top 10 moments from Attack on Titan Season 1. So if you've seen Season 1 of Attack on Titan, you might want to go check out that video, see if you agree. And that's youtube.com/C/Bruce Leslie.
Hey, Sean, do you like Star Wars?
You know that I do, Adam. Thanks for the meatball of a question. We have a podcast called Star Wars 30 Questions, and wouldn't you know it, a new Star Wars show just landed. It's called Obi-Wan, and we have a podcast called Obi-Wan 30 Questions. So if you aren't part of that and you want to know what we think of the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan, then you should check out our podcast Obi-Wan 30 Questions.
And if you've been subscribed to our Mandalorian 30 Questions podcast, it's going to be on that exact same feed that we did that in Book of Boba Fett and everything. So that's going to be our going from the Mandalorian to just our Star Wars Disney Plus show. Yeah. So all of our Star Wars stuff will go to there. All of our Marvel stuff stays on the Marvel channel and stuff like that. So we keep them separated well enough and everything, but just so you don't have to have 80 different subscriptions for the different things, and not to mention we have to pay for all of those, so we don't do that either. But so if you are subscribed to Mandalorian 30 Questions, just stick around, man. Obi-Wan 30 Questions coming up for you quite soon. Speaking of 30 questions, one of our earliest 30 Questions show is coming back for season 3. However, we will not be coming back for season 3 for that 30 Questions episodes because we're doing a lot of stuff, guys. We do a lot of things.
It's a lot.
We do this show, we do Dinger Zone, we do the Patreon stuff, it's a lot, and plus all the other stuff. So we had to cut the line somewhere, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to be reviewing The Boys, because we did like the first 2 seasons of The Boys, and you can go back and listen to those 30 questions. We did enjoy that show quite a bit, and we'll be covering more of that this week, or next week as well, when we talk about The Boys Season 3. However many episodes that they've got out by that point, we'll kind of review those and talk about them a little bit, and we won't. Maybe we'll do a 30 questions format. Maybe we won't. We'll see. Who knows? But we'll check out The Boys Season 3. That is available on Amazon Prime. Probably as you hear this, or pretty darn close to it. So that's what we'll be covering next week. Boys Season 3. That'll do it, everybody. Join us next week for The Boys Season 3. Until then, for Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Fortress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
you're charging, go on, get your aim.